It's a big decision on the part of the Supreme Court of India, overruling the 1967 judgment, denying minority status to the AMU essentially. Supreme Court has reopened the AMU minority status debate, with the court referring AMU's minority status bench, its case to the new bench, is what we know at this point in time. Top court has decided to listen to this or hear this matter. It's a 1967 verdict which denied minority status to the Aligarh Muslim University. The Allahabad High Court had struck down the provision previously of a 1981 law by which the university was accorded a minority status. The Supreme Court of India has reopened the minority status debate as far as the Aligarh Muslim University is concerned. In the year 1967, the verdict denying the minority status report was overruled. The Apex Court has referred AMU minority status case to a new bench, which means that this matter is going to be heard afresh right now. The Supreme Court has now referred this matter to a new bench. It's a vexed legal question on whether the Aligarh Muslim University enjoyed minority status under Article 30 of the Constitution, which empowers the religious and linguistic minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Shrishti Oja with more details on that. What's happened in court? Tell us more, Shrishti.
Well, yes, Neha, we have live updates coming in from the top court, where a 7-judge constitution bench is dictating the order on the question of whether, regarding the minority status of the Aligarh Muslim University. Now, what the court has, however, decided to do, instead of actually deciding and whether or not AMU will get a minority status or will come under the category of a minority institution under Article 31 and under Article 30, Clause 1 of the Constitution, the court has referred that particular question to another bench. A regular 3-judge bench will be deciding whether AMU is a minority institution or not. This is a majority judgment, 4 judges, and the judgment was read out by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, who has said that the question with regard to whether AMU will have minority status under the Constitution is something that a regular bench will decide. According to them, what they have done in this particular judgment that they're pronouncing today is lay down the criteria and the essentials basically that an institution needs to fulfill to basically be given the status of a minority institution. They also referred to the 2019 reference order, the Supreme Court's order, which had referred this matter to a larger bench, the issue to a larger 7-judge constitution bench. They also discussed what all were the questions that bench basically in its reference order wanted the top court and this particular bench, the 7-judge bench, to decide. Reading those references, the court today said that one of the questions that they were asked to decide was what are the criteria that a minority institution needs to fulfill to be given that minority status under the Constitution. One question was whether just establishment of a minority institution by a minority community enough, or whether it is also important for that institution, for that community to also manage and administer the functioning of that particular institute. However, one important thing that has happened in this majority verdict today is that the court has overruled its 1967 5-judge judgment, noting that judgment clearly said that the minority status of an institution will go if the institution is established under a statute or an act which is enacted by the parliament. Referring to the 1967 judgment, the court had said, back then the court had clearly said that AMU will not be a minority institution, or it cannot be a minority institution because, first of all, it wasn't established and it wasn't being administered by the minority community. In fact, it was constituted or instituted under the AMU Act. Considering it was constituted under a parliament legislation, an act, a statute, that is why the minority status of that institution will cease to operate. The court today has clearly said that interpretation was not correct and has now also laid down the tests and criteria as to what all criteria a minority institution needs to fulfill. They said that while it's true that a minority community might establish an institution and may not be able to administer it later, they said that just to get the tag of a minority institution. You can't do this if you establish an institution but not administer it. But they also said that only because an institution has been established by a minority community but not being administered by a minority community, that can't be the only ground to take away its minority status. Thirdly, as I just mentioned, the fact of the institution being established under a statute act is not just the fact that it's been constituted under an act will not be enough to take away its minority status. We have three dissents in this particular case. Three judges who have dissented, who have not agreed with the majority opinion. Once the judgments are read out, we'll also know what are the main issues on which these three judges have dissented or disagreed with the minority judgment.
Okay.
We saw Justice Suryakant read his dissent, in which he's also referred to the aspect of whether a two-judge bench could have asked the Chief Justice of India back then to refer the matter to a seven-judge bench. So once the other judges read out their respective dissenting judgments, we'll know what exactly are the aspects that they have, disagreed with the majority verdict.
Be with us, Srishti. Coming back to you in a moment from now. Nalini Sharma also getting in more details, our legal editor there. Nalini, the Supreme Court by a 4-3 majority judgment has overruled the 1967 Aziz Basha judgment that denied minority status to AMU. Put this into perspective and also get us the background of how all of this really started with the establishment of the university itself.
Well, Sneha, the reason why the establishment of AMU is so crucial or going to be so crucial in the coming days in this case is essentially because now the new three-judge bench that is going to be constituted is going to determine exactly who is it that had established AMU. Because what the Chief Justice of India today, while pronouncing the majority judgment, has said that for an institution to be recognized as a minority institution, it has to be established by a minority. It also has to be administered by a minority. So the question that now comes up before the Supreme Court is who exactly established Aligarh Muslim University, which was also a part of the case when the 7-judge bench was hearing it, where the petitioners claimed that it had actually been established as the MEO college or the MAU college even before in the 1800s, before the Britishers had come into India. But at the same time, what the central government has stated is that AMU was actually established after the MAU college had become a part of AMU through a statute that was enacted called the Aligarh Muslim University Act. So as to whether or not the establishment is on the basis of the statute or the earlier MAU college was what was established is going to be the main consideration before the new three-judge bench that is going to consider this case. It needs to be clarified here that the Supreme Court in its majority judgment today, essentially what it's done is it's laid down the criteria on the basis of which an institution can be granted a minority status, and it is also stated under circumstances under which minority status cannot be revoked. So what had happened in the 1967 judgment essentially is that the court at that time had stated that because the AMU Act was enacted, keeping that in mind, the AMU, the Aligarh Muslim University, could not anymore enjoy the minority status. But the court has very categorically said today that on the basis of that, minority status cannot be revoked, and new guidelines have been put in place according to which it should be determined as to whether or not an educational institution should enjoy a minority status or not. Of course, the decision of that is left up to a three-judge bench, which will be constituted by the Chief Justice of India, the new Chief Justice of India, because it's the last day of the current Chief Justice today.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's going to be a big breather for the students at Aligarh Muslim University as well as the administration, who were hoping for the judgment in their favor, and they couldn't have hoped for a better scenario out of this.
All right, Nalini Sharma, I'm going to thank you for the moment. Also thanking Srishti Oja for getting in her inputs on the big story that we are tracking. A new bench is going to now eventually be hearing this matter. It's going to be a three-judge bench. Will consider whether AMU is a minority institution or not.